I'm Miss Tara. I'm a teacher for WQLN, and one of my very favorite things about being a teacher is trying to learn something new every day so that I can share that something new with you. Well, some of you might go to school to learn, and some of you might learn right at home with your family. Those are great places to learn. But one of my very favorite places to learn for me is right outside my door in nature. As you can see today, I'm outside in my favorite classroom, my backyard. And my backyard happens to be a forest. I get to explore nature anytime I want right outside my door. Now, some of you at home might be lucky enough to have a forest in your backyard. But even if you're not, it's never far to drive to a forest in Pennsylvania. So much of our Pennsylvania land is part of one of the world's largest forests in the world, called the Appalachian National Forest. This forest has so many different living creatures in it, from flowers to plants to trees, to insects to reptiles, to animals everywhere, and of course tons of birds. You may have gone on a nature walk in your own neighborhood sometime and seen some of the creatures that live right outside your door. Some of those same animals make the forest their home. This beautiful tree right behind me is called an evergreen tree. The reason it's called an evergreen tree is because it stays green all year. It stays green forever. Isn't that neat? And this tree just happens to be called a hemlock tree. A hemlock tree is the state tree of Pennsylvania. Well, my daughter was lucky enough to work several years in a Pennsylvania zoo, and she got to spend lots of time up close and personal with some Pennsylvania forest creatures. She'd love to share a story with you today, so I'm going to go inside and warm up and get ready to enjoy her story. Let's go inside together and get ready.
Hi everyone, I'm Miss Andrea. I was lucky enough to work at a Pennsylvania zoo for many years, where I got to hang out with Pennsylvania forest animals, including deer, foxes, and bunnies. Today we are lucky enough to share story time with Mr. Turtle and his baby. Baby turtles are called hatchlings. Just like people have different names for their family members, such as mommy, daddy, and baby, animals have different names too. Hi, Mr. Turtle. Hi, hatchling. Thank you for joining us for story time. Today we will be reading the book, Forest. Let's get started. A mommy fox is called a vixen. A daddy fox is called a dog. And baby foxes, they are called kits. A daddy deer is called a stag. A mommy deer is called a doe. Baby deers, they are called fawns. Did you know that, hatchling? Me either. We're all learning today. A mommy rabbit is called a doe. A daddy rabbit is called a buck. And baby rabbits, they are called kits. A daddy bear is called a boar. A mommy bear is called a sow. And baby bears, they are called cubs. There are also names for animal families. A sleuth of bears. A skulk of foxes. Groups of these animals are called a colony of rabbits and a herd of deer. Thank you so much, all of you, as well as Mr. Turtle and Hatchling, for joining us for story time. I hope you have a great rest of your lesson. Did you see those deer running away from the window? It's always so exciting when you see animals out in nature, isn't it? I bet you those deer were listening to Miss Andrea's story along with Mr. Turtle and Baby Hatchling. What do you think? I think so too. Let's do an activity together. I made homemade puzzles. If you've never made puzzles at home, oh, you're gonna love this activity. It's so much fun. Now, I took animals from the story that Miss Andrea shared with us, Forest, and I drew them all onto some cards. You can't see them now because I have their back showing. But I did the parent on one side and I did the baby animal on the other side. And if we match those puzzles up perfectly, we should have a good baby along with their parent, happy to be with their parent. So all I did was take a couple index cards, and maybe you have some index cards at home. It doesn't matter what size, shape, or color. And you can use a piece of paper if you don't. The index cards are nice, a little nicer because they're a little thicker, and they tend to work as a puzzle a little better, but you can do it with anything you want. And I drew a line down the middle, just some design, because you know puzzles have all different designs. And then I cut it apart, and here we go. We've got some two-piece puzzles. You could cut it in 3, you can cut it in 4, you can do whatever you want, it's your puzzle. But I did 2, baby and parent. So if we put the 2 pieces together, we should be able to flip over and check and see if there's a good match. So let's try it together. Okay, here's our first piece. And which of these do you think would be a good match for this piece? See the shape? I think you were pointing at this one, were you? Well, let's try it. Go ahead and switch these, and we'll slide it right up there. It looks like we have a good match. Should we see if the parent and baby match? Let's find out. So the animal is a rabbit, and remember, a baby rabbit is called a kit. Put that right there, and we'll flip over this side, and we have a doe for the mommy. And if we put them together, mommy and baby bunny are so happy because they're together, aren't they? Let's move on to this one. Which of these pieces on this side look like it might match? Go ahead and point. Oh, we think this one? Let's go ahead and try it. Oh, is that a good fit? I bet you're shaking your head no. I bet you weren't even pointing at that one, were you? I probably made a mistake. Let's see. Let's give this one a try and see what happens. Oh, I see you shaking your head. Yes, I hope I did good. Let's find out. I think we have a good match. Let's see what baby we have. This is what baby? A baby bear, right? Do you remember what the baby bear is called from the story? A cub, right? A baby cub. And there's the mommy. The mommy's called a sow, remember? There they are, so happy. Let's move on to the next one. It looks to me like we have a good match here. So I'm going to slide them together and we'll see if it fits. It gets easier, doesn't it, when there's less for us to choose from. Okay, this baby is a fox. And the fox is called a kit. So cute. And the dad is called a dog. Some of you might have a dog at home, but I don't know if it's a dog fox, right? Because they like to live in the forest. But it's called the same, just as a dog that you might have as a pet. Well, let's see what the last animal was. Let's see, we have a rabbit, a bear, and a fox. Can you remember what the last animal was in the story that we didn't do yet? Let's find out. You can shout it out if you think you know it. And did you shout out a deer? Because if you did, woo, you were a good listener. And the baby deer is called a fawn, and you can tell it has little spots on it. And there's the dad. The dad's called a stag. And look at his majestic antlers on there, so you know it's the dad. So there's the 4 animals from that story that Miss Andrea shared. A rabbit, a bear, a fox, and a deer. That's fun, isn't it?
Another fun way to do those is to make a whole bunch of them and spread them out all over your floor and see if you can match them. I love to do activities on the floor. And if you want to make it extra challenging, you can hide the pieces around your house and have a scavenger hunt first, and then gather all the pieces from all over your house into a big pile and then put them all together on the floor. Just have fun with it. Learning is so much fun. Well, I have another story to read to you with some animals in it. I think you're going to love it because in Miss Andrea's stories, Forest, all the animals were drawn just like I did. And some of you might like to draw. If you don't like to draw, you can also make this puzzle with pictures from the internet or from a magazine too. You don't have to draw them. And in this story, the illustrator drew the pictures. Now, in this story called Forest Babies, these are real photographs of real animals, which is kind of neat to see what the animals look like out in the wild, kind of like those deer that ran by. This one is called Forest Babies. And these 4 animals are in this story. So if you see one of them, go ahead and give a thumbs up, okay? And then you'll know you're a really good listener because all 4 of these animals are in here somewhere. Enjoy the pictures. Forest Babies. The baby rabbit has fur. And I bet you thumbs up right away, right? There's our kit. Our baby bunny's called a kit. The baby moose has fur. The baby deer has fur. Oh, I see another thumbs up at home. And do you see the spots there on the baby? Do you remember what it's called? A fawn. Very good. That's called a fawn. The baby wolf has fur. And we didn't do a baby wolf. Remember, we did a baby fox. The baby raccoon has fur. So cute. The baby chipmunk has fur. The baby bear has fur. Good job, the baby bear. And do you remember what the baby bear is called? A cub. Very good, a bear cub. The baby fox has fur. There's our baby fox. Very good. That baby fox is called a kit. What else did you see in this story? Were you looking at all the nature things in there? A branch, grass, leaves, and a rock? These are all things that you can find in the forest for these animals to live in. It's a fun little book because it's fun to see the real pictures, isn't it? Well, I cannot wait to share a wonderful craft you can do at home. This was one activity you could do at home, but your imagination can even make something more spectacular. So I would like you to find a grown-up that can help you gather them some supplies, and I will meet you back here and I will tell you all the things that you need to get to make this wonderful forest animal craft. See you in a minute. Hi, welcome back. I hope you found a grown-up to help you with this make-at-home craft of a forest. So I gathered some supplies. So I'm going to show you some supplies that you'll need, and then we'll start our craft, okay? So for this craft, you need a shoebox or any kind of box, a cereal box or a tissue box or any kind of cardboard box will do. Any size, doesn't matter. Some glue, a pair of scissors, a couple pieces of paper. I have green for the forest floor and I have bluish purple for the sky. If you don't have colored paper, you can color it. And then I cut a bunch of strips of cardboard, and I'm going to use these to put my creatures inside of my forest. And then I have some markers, but you can use crayons or colored pencils, whatever you have. So what we're going to make today is called a diorama. Isn't that a fancy word? Diorama. And a diorama is just a very fancy word for making a scene of something. So today we're going to make a 3D forest scene. Isn't that fun? And since we're talking about the forests of Pennsylvania, we're going to make animals and creatures that live in the Pennsylvania forest. So I thought I would show you a map first of where we are making our animals. And here is a map, you might recognize it. This is our country, the United States, right? And over here, this purple state right here starts with a P, if you can see it. PA, right? That's an abbreviation for Pennsylvania. So that's the forest we're visiting today because we live here in Pennsylvania. So that's why we're going to do that state today. So what I did is I went on the internet and I looked up the state symbols of Pennsylvania, and I just printed out the different creatures and the different things Pennsylvania has a symbol of. And I'm going to cut these out and use. Now, for my puzzle, I drew. And you can draw your animals and plants and trees and rocks for this diorama, or you can print them out like I did. Sometimes it's a little faster. And it's fun to color them in, boys and girls. So you can help your grown-up cut them out, and you can help them color them, or you can just draw them and color them in. So it's up to you. So what I did is I printed this out, and we talked about one already when we were outside together. The Pennsylvania state tree. Remember I said it was an evergreen because it stays green forever? Do you remember what that tree was called? It was called a hemlock. Very good. So this is your hemlock tree. So you'll want to cut out your hemlock tree, and then this deer, like we saw in the story, this white-tailed deer, that's the official state animal of Pennsylvania. We have tons of deer. You just saw them running by my window. And then I cut out the state bird, which is called the ruffed grouse. Our state insect, maybe you've seen these on a hot summer night, the firefly, right? Lightning bugs, they light up. That's our state insect. And I cut out our state fish, which is a trout, a brook trout, because you can find those in brooks and streams. That's why he's called a brook trout. And then for fun, since we did a tree, I also cut out our state flower, which is a mountain laurel. If you have a colored printer, you don't even need to color them. But if you don't, it's fun to color them in anyway. So that's what I did. So you want to start with your shoebox, and then you're going to open it up, make sure that there's nothing inside, make sure the shoes aren't still in there. And you're going to trim off some pieces that you don't need. So I'm going to start with this green piece of paper here. I'm going to make the forest floor first. And I'm just going to go ahead and put some glue on that. And I'm going to stick it right on here to the forest floor. And then if it doesn't fit or you have extra, you can just cut that right off. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to cut that bottom off of that shoebox so that we have a good fit. I'm just going to cut right across. Sometimes it's hard to get cardboard, so this is what cut cardboard. So that's why it's nice to have a grown-up, because they're allowed to use the grown-up scissors, which are sharper, because they can be really challenging to cut the cardboard. It's really probably the hardest part of the whole project. I'm going to get that cut off, and then we should have a good match. Yay! We did it. So already it's starting to look more like a forest, right? Because I have a green bottom. That's where all the moss and rocks and things are, right? So next we need our sky. So we're gonna make a sky back there, and it's very easy. You just set the bottom of the shoebox on measure and trace. If you just trace that shoebox right across and cut it out, it should glue in there perfectly. It should be a perfect fit since you measured the size of the box, right? Let's go ahead and cut that. And put some glue on that. And we have set our scene in our diorama to make a forest. So we have the sky and we have the floor. Yay. Okay, now comes the fun part. We get to put things in the forest, right? And if you want to write anything, sometimes it's fun to write forest on there. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Why not, right? This is your creation, so you can do whatever you want, right? I'm going to write forest. What do you think that starts with? F. That's right, F for forest. Forest. F-O-R-E-S-T. That spells forest. Just kind of fun to write things on, label things. That's called labeling, right? And then I cut out all those Pennsylvania creatures already just to make it easier. And then I cut strips of cardboard. Actually, this is the back of a cereal, the inside of a cereal box. I make crafts out of anything at my house. And I just cut the back off and then I cut strips. Why not, right? Let's make something fun. And then I went ahead and I colored in all my Pennsylvania creatures. I have my white-tailed deer here and my ruffed grouse and my mountain laurel that I colored in and my firefly. And let's see. Oh, and I also have I put 2 on this one because there was room, so why not? And then I'll cut it in half. So now I have my hemlock tree, which we saw out in the backyard, and my brook trout. And to make them stand up, you're just gonna fold right underneath that picture, and you're gonna make like a little stand. And then if you glue the bottom of that stand, that will stand right up in your forest. Isn't that neat? So I'm gonna go ahead and glue them on so you can see, okay? And glue the hemlock tree on. And let's see, I'm gonna put the tall ones in the back. It seems to work better when you do that because then you can see them, and then you put the short ones in the front. That's my white-tailed deer, and he's jumping just like the ones outside my window, so I'm gonna put him up high. And you can put them as high or as low as you want, right? And my ruffed grouse, because he'd probably be flying around in this, maybe he'd be up in a tree or something. We don't know where he would be. I have my mountain laurel. A mountain laurel grows on a bush, so I'll put that down low. My firefly. Look how easy this is, right? It's so easy. And then my brook trout. Now the brook trout would do what? He would swim in a stream, right? Or a brook. So go ahead and draw if you want. Draw a stream running through the forest. You can get so creative with this. You can put waves. You could even have a lot of extra fun. You can go out, if you go on one of those nature walks I told you about, you could pick up real rocks and you could put them in your diorama, or you could pick up twigs that are broken off of a tree or a bush and you can set those up in your forest. So the possibilities are endless. That also gives you some fun things to go out and look for when you go on your nature walk, doesn't it? So look how quickly I was able to put together a diorama of the Pennsylvania forest, right? That was pretty quick, wasn't it? And you don't just have to do Pennsylvania animals. I mean, I did another one on a different day. I might as well show it to you. This one I used the forest babies, and I made the 3D trees, and I put the baby mommy and baby bear in there, see, back there, and I put snakes down here on the floor, and I also have grass and bunnies here in the front, see? So, and there's birds up in the sky. So the possibilities are endless. There's far-reaching as your imagination can think. I think these are so fun to make, and you can really make them with any subject matter, but I happen to like to do them for nature because I just love nature so much. So I hope you're able to gather those materials and make one of these dioramas for yourself at home.
As you can see, I'm back out here again in my favorite classroom, nature, standing next to my favorite evergreen tree, the Pennsylvania hemlock. And I had so much fun with you today learning about the Pennsylvania forests and all the creatures that live there and all the little babies. And it was so fun making that diorama with you and making a scene of the forest and using our creativity. I hope you get to go out real soon and enjoy nature for yourself. Whether you go on a walk up and down the street and collect beautiful rocks and plants and flowers, and go on a nature hunt looking for animals and their babies in the spring when they're all being born. Or hopefully you'll get to go for a drive and walk through the many forests that we have here in Pennsylvania. Until we meet again, I hope that you keep reading, I hope you keep learning, and I hope you keep enjoying watching us on WQLN. Bye-bye.